Yes, Vivek, go ahead. What was your query?
So actually, my question is, sir, that I've gone through your course and I know what enterprise architecture is now at least all about. Especially TOGAF standards, I know. So what's happening around is that although I'm doing enterprise architecture and I'm at the very beginning phase. However, because I would like, due to some reasons, I want to change my company. So my question is that having this kind of theoretical knowledge of TOGAF and done your course and little bit now doing some enterprise architecture. I'm at the moment, let's say, working on application architecture, right? um, but I've not worked on all the aspects of enterprise architecture, which like an experienced person like you or some enterprise architects might be. So is it reasonable enough for me to apply for a enterprise architecture job in the market, or shall I look for some other kind of architecture jobs? And the second part of this question is that is domain knowledge very important, uh, both for an enterprise architecture and for a, let's say, solution IT architect? And then how can I, without knowing that domain, apply for such jobs?
Yeah, to answer the first part of your query, Vivek, so typically, how do you become an enterprise architect? So have you held the role of an architect in any of your companies? Any kind of architect? It could be application
Yes, sir.
architect. You have?
Solution architecture.
Oh,
I have
you're
been
the
solution.
so the solution architect is the logical step to go ahead, I would say, because that's very easy for you to do that transition because you know about how to do certain solutioning around certain products. So it could be SAP or Ariba or Siebel or PeopleSoft, all of those kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So you could actually venture out there and say that you know that solution quite well. How do you position that in various different client landscapes? So somebody is using SAP, like we were. Somebody is using SAP with success factors. Somebody is using SAP with PeopleSoft, let us say. So you know the
Mhm.
solutioning part of it. So for you, that transition to become a solution architect and apply for such solution architect jobs is easy. But when you say I want to be an application architect, obviously you should have spent a good amount of time in application development and the application lifecycle stages. Then you can transition into that. And if you want to be a system architect, you have to know about how systems are being done. Like, how do you work with operating systems? How do you work with security concerns? How do you work
Mhm.
with sizing of various hardware, software? How will you know about kernels and tuning
Mhm.
kernels and typically memory management using system software tools, Kubernetes, containers, microservices. So it's systems architect is a big deal because if you've not done that area, it's easier to stick with the solution that you've worked with, like if it's SAP or JD Edwards or PeopleSoft. So it's easier to be a solution architect right away than getting into a system architect kind of a profile, because that requires you to know about the knowledge of certain systems, like either it is
Mhm.
storage or network or security or that kind of stuff. And then the other domains are data and business. I don't want to touch upon that because you often worked on those aspects of it. So typically, I wouldn't say that I wouldn't ask you to do that, go there. But it's easy for you to typically do the solution architect kind of a profile, because if you know about a solution already, it becomes that much easier for you to leverage your existing knowledge and spread your expertise there. So just give me a minute, actually.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I was actually telling you that it's easier for you to know about the solution, then propose how you could position that in the client landscape by understanding their business concerns. You understand the technology, you understand the solutioning part of it. Then it's easier for you to leverage that space because you're already doing that role. It's easy for you to get into that role.
Mhm.
Enterprise architect requires you to play that strategic partnership transformation partner kind of a role, wherein you will need to know a lot more about the business angle of it, a lot more about how the domain is shaping the whole client requirements landscape, and how do you use technology to solve business problems. And it requires that level. But once you keep playing those roles, you will eventually, graduate into that sort of a stuff. But the logical step for you to be to, look at more of solution architect roles rather than, I would say, cut out all the other architect roles that you are currently doing. Maybe business architect also is a good idea, but business idea architect, you would need to know the domain part of it. And so if somebody asks you, okay, Vivek, what is your domain strength? So what would you say? Is it retail? Is it supply chain? Is it inventory management? Or is it HR? What will you say as your key domain strength? Let us say somebody asks you that question. What is
Yeah.
your key domain strength?
So actually, I've been working in insurance. I've been working in manufacturing areas, and then also banking area. I've been to, but more into the ERP area. Yeah, in all
Okay.
these different.
So you work with
Um,
package software and mostly
yeah.
insurance and banking and financial services. So obviously, yes, that's the domain. And for you to show that you have leadership in that area, thought leadership, it would be good for you to get some certifications. Like maybe if you are in banking, do BAIN, certification, which shall position you as a good expert in that area. Get some blockchain certifications if you're deep, want to go into that area. If you're into insurance, there is, I think, a certification called LOMA or something, LOMA. So you can actually do that kind of a certification and show your expertise. So typically, that is how you will, require you to showcase your abilities in those areas. And to answer the second part of your question, do you need to know the domain? Yes, of course, it helps you to know the domain, because you will really need to know why is that you're actually doing this problem, for whom are you solving this problem. So if you know the domain well, I've seen people who actually come from pure domain knowledge also grow as enterprise architects without knowing a bit of technology, because they are able to really understand the business concerns of the customer. They really know what is the business concern. And so after 18-20 years, I've seen even techie guys sometimes get into domain, because domain doesn't change that fast, but technology kind of changes very fast, right? So if you have to make multiple hops in your technology career, you have to know the latest and greatest version of probably SAP or AWS or Azure that you're actually good at. And then you have to constantly keep learning. Whereas if you say and position yourself as a domain expert, the domain doesn't change that quickly. So you could say that, you are typically going to be knowing the insurance domain, and the best part about insurance is maybe it changes once in 5 years, once in 10 years. So the new trends, you need to keep yourself updated only once in 5 years or once in 10 years. But as technology, every 6 months it's something new out there, and if you don't keep in tune with the technology, you will be simply out of sync. So at times I've seen very senior guys, techie guys, move into domain related areas and becoming experts there because of that very feature. So whatever is your liking, you don't have to be spreading yourself thin in many domains. Whatever is your liking, like if it's insurance or banking or financial services, stick to one and have deep core knowledge in that area, so that you are able to consult with companies. You're seen as a thought leader in that area. You come with that focused knowledge, and you're able to spread that knowledge to anybody whom you come across. So I think that's how it is, and then of course use that knowledge and become an enterprise architect. That's one ladder. The other ladder is, okay, know a little bit of technology, know a little bit of business, then you are good at mixing both, then you become an enterprise architect. So the choice is yours. Basically, what is that you are interested in doing, and what is your aptitude towards, because everybody doesn't feel like studying everything, or perhaps you don't want to study something that's not of your interest. So you only want to focus on your areas of interest and expertise. So do that well, and I think that's how you will get to where you want to be actually.
Okay, understood. Um,
Did that answer your query, Vivek?
yes. So basically, if I want to change my domain and I want to apply for jobs in another domains, so what you are suggesting is that it's important to know about it.
Yeah, exactly. If you
Or
are
do some
going from
certifications.
a domain expert point of view, it's important to know about the domain if you're going from a domain expert point of view. But if you're going from a technology guy, let's say you're an infra guy or you're a cyber security guy. So if that is the case, then you don't really have to know that domain, because the security problems are the same across industries, right? infrastructure problems are the same across industries. So if you're a networking architect or a performance kind of an architect, or you are an API architect, then API architect, you still need to know the domain. But other things like infra, security, and networking, you don't need to know much of the domain. But if you are requiring to do the business solutioning and all that, of course, obviously, you will need to know the domain.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir, for answering my query. So I think, but the only what I actually wanted to connect with you is because there are so many architect jobs in the market, right? And sometimes it becomes, okay, which one is the right one for me? Which one I can really apply? Which one will really will be suiting my profile? It's always, you know, perhaps the number of the variety of architects have increased a lot, so it's sometimes become very confusing, right? So yeah, but now it's getting clear that
yeah, I think when in doubt, I would suggest is actually you go through the job description. They would have told your activities like a day-to-day kind of a thing. You know, what is that you need to do as your day job? What are the kind of activities and roles and responsibilities? I think once you read that, and if it resonates with what you already have and possess, then you can easily say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do, and you can make that decision quite easily. And stuff like that. So, but if it is like related kind of domains, let us say you're in banking, you want to shift to insurance, or you want to say you shift to money lending or anti-money laundering or some financial services. Those are like related areas where you can make the shift quickly. With a little bit of reading here and there, you can actually make that transition. But let us say you are in banking, but you want to go to healthcare, or you want to go to, let us say, oil and energies and utilities or alternative energy. That's a completely different domain, right? It is not in sync with what you already know. So that requires a huge amount of change. It's not that you can't do it, but there's a lot of effort required to do that, and you should see what your priorities are.
okay. Well, that's good, sir. Thanks a lot for your time. That case.
Sure. I think let us get connected with the other queries that you have, Vivek. So I think let us have this quick bite session ended right here, and I think we'll have other sessions.
Okay.